I'm Michaela Harrison and I'm a senior lecturer here. I teach mostly on the primary IT course, but also quite a lot on CPD courses, so I work a lot with practicing teachers as well. And these are third year students, and this is the third year that I've taught them, so I've been their tutor throughout their teaching studies programme. This is a seminar, so the focus of the session was on creativity and creative thinking. We also touched on criticality and reflexivity, because those are two tricky skills that they need to apply when they're doing their writing. If you want to have a learning experience that is based on like conversation and dialogue and the students' own ideas, then you've got to create a different kind of culture and environment in your classroom. And that happens very slowly. Like there's not a method, there's not a particular strategy I employ and hey presto, it's done. It's about, you know, being in it for the long run. It's about longevity. You've got to kind of have in your mind the kind of environment that you want to create and think very carefully about the person that you are and how you make that happen and what you do. I apply in my teaching style the same ones that I applied when I was a primary school teacher. My starting point is them, what I think that they know, what I think that they're good at and what they need to do more of, and then I plan my session around that. This group are very kind of communicative. They feel very comfortable talking about things with each other and with myself. And so a lot of the activities that I design are group-based discussions. And actually very often students will tell me that they get a lot out of that. And it's, you know, it's one of the fundamental principles of the way that we teach on teaching studies. So often they learn as much from each other as they learn from me, and I learn loads from them. I mean, there was that fantastic example that one of the students, James, contributed an idea about how you might be collaboratively reflexive. I'd not thought of that before. And that really moved the session forward, and as a group we're able to reevaluate what, you know, being reflexive collaboratively might look like. But they're good at that. This is the kind of group that can do that. The elements of subject knowledge and content that I have to deliver in inverted commas, that's quite slim. On the session notes, I've wrote down what creativity is, I've defined creative thinking, I've thought about the skills and processes, but those things emerge organically out of the group dialogue rather than me kind of putting it onto them. And I think that they get a lot out of that because it feels more natural and organic. It kind of feels there's something more real about it. And it keeps them on the toes, they're more awake, you know. I mean, I've stood at the front and delivered, and then you kind of see their eyes glazing over and you can so easily lose them. But when they're part of that learning experience, they're actively engaged in it and they're responsible for it as well, then, you know, they've got to keep on the toes. I can think of one student in particular. She's so bright, she's such a critical, creative thinker. If you talk to her in a small group, wow, you'll be amazed. So very rarely says it in front of everybody else. And so for that particular student, I might have a conversation at the table with her, and then I'll say, oh, and I was talking over there, and da-da-da-da, and I'll kind of retell the story to everybody else. Because I know that she's never going to kind of say, you know, we talked about this, it was amazing and interesting. So relationships, getting to know them, and that's a privilege, and a lot of it is by design of the course, so I can't take credit for it. Nobody's perfect, are they? I make a million and one mistakes when I'm teaching, and I'm very honest about that. You know, I'll say something sometimes and I'll think, oh, you know, that did not make any kind of sense at all. But rather than pretend that it did or try to hide it, I'll just be upfront and honest, like just scrap that thing that I just said, it totally didn't make sense or work. Let me have another go at that. So you create a culture of like openness, honesty, willingness to make mistakes and learn from them, so they don't feel afraid.
Thank you for watching this Good Practice Exchange film. You can find lots more teaching ideas and resources on our website.